Hello guys, welcome back to Comic Book Cafe. Today we are talking about Avengers Standoff, the Assault on Pleasant Hill Omega 1. Why they call it Omega 1, I don't know, because it's only one issue. So, 101. It's kind of, so, a lot has happened in Standoff, obviously. Again, the main premise of Standoff is Pleasant Hill was created by S.h.i.e.L.D. Maria Hill, the director of S.h.i.e.L.D., created Pleasant Hill by using the Cosmic Cube to more or less, make all these big bad, super villain criminals forget who they are and live in this community together. During this time, the cube had become Sentinel. It became a living being. It projected itself as a little girl, even though it's obviously old, and tried to help. It thought it was trying to help everybody. Of course, because it was a little girl, things got out of control and manipulated, and things have simply fallen apart. Also, during this time, S.h.i.e.L.D. has kind of put all the Avenger teams there too, and so right now we're at a standpoint where they're the Avengers fighting against, of course, the supervillains. More importantly, Baron Zemo, who tried to do some really bad stuff. So we start this issue off, obviously, with a great splash picture of kind of like fighting going on, and we see someone talking, which is S.h.i.e.L.D. Kincaid, who is a S.h.i.E.L.D. agent, talking about how she basically comments how she survived this, and like, well, why is she important? And we find out her importance later in the book, why she's the one speaking at the very beginning. So anyway, we go to Baron Zemo, and he's got these S.h.i.E.L.D. agents trapped. He's got explosives taped around their bodies. And he basically describes how bad what they did to them, and how what he's doing is considered mercy, and he decides to shoot a couple of them in the head, just to kind of real mercy, and the rest he says, are going to be example. And then he's talking about how, right now they're on the cube, but soon things are in play, and soon we'll have it. And so next we go to Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man. He's sitting there, he's having tea time with the girl. He's a bad guy, and they're talking and stuff, and she senses other people there, because again, she's a cube. She's like all powerful. She can sense a lot of stuff. And it's Fixer, and Trapster. Karen's like, yeah, these are my friends. You say you're upset. You're trying to help everybody. Everybody's mad at you. Well, look in this thing, and it'll make everything better. And it's a trap. She gets trapped in it, and then they got her now, basically. And then we go to an interesting part, and that is with S.h.i.E.L.D. Kincaid and a mysterious guy. And this leads to a reveal of a return of a character, because there's a lot of speculation of what is it, Nova, is it Darkhawk, is it this, is it that, and this character just said, yeah, 6 months ago I gave Maria Hill this great power that I had, because he was losing it because of it, and she said she'd keep it safe. Well, now he remembered everything, so now something bad's happening. And so he pulls this thing out, and he opens it up. First, he pulls it out, and he reveals himself to be Wendell Vaughn, which a lot of us would know who read the comic books in the 80s and early 90s, as Quasar. And he reveals, of course, the bands that he wore. And you're thinking, oh, he's going to be Quasar. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So then we shoot to the Avengers. Obviously, we now have 2 Captain Americas. Steve Rogers back to being youthful Rogers again. And, of course, Sam Wilson, Falcon, a.k.a. the other Captain America. And they're basically fighting, they make a point they're not fighting as a group or as this, they're fighting as family. And they're fighting the bad guys, obviously. But ultimately, with them capturing the cube, and they're converting her back into a cube is what they're trying to do. As they're doing that, Graviton, it's got him trapped. Got all the Avengers trapped. They can't break out of this with the cube and him and everything. They can't break out of it. And then all of a sudden, they're like, we got everything is not working. And she goes, no, you haven't. And then, of course, S.h.i.E.L.D. Kincaid shows up in the Quasar, outfit, because she's now the new Quasar. She just blows the, S.h.i.e.L.D. away. And then the real fight pursues. While they're fighting, and when she broke the shield, she had released the cube from its prison, and when, of course, the girl got released, she was angry and upset, again, like a little girl would be, and she wanted to take it on somebody, and, of course, Winter Soldier Bucky, was ready to save everybody. I mean, he was trying to do the right thing, but he had a gun. The girl was mad, and she just picked him in the gun and threw him through the side of the building. I guess outside Pleasant Hill. And then Baron Zemo's there, and she's like, she was mad. She's like, "You're a bad person, unlike you. I don't kill people." And then the doctor's there too, who's supposed to get her, and she's mad at both of them. So she just transports both of them away, 11,000 miles away on the other side of the world. I think it's Himalayan mountains or something like that. She transported them to the other side of the world. You're bad people. I don't want to deal with you. But ultimately, she disappears on them, and all the other prisoners decide, well, Nemo's gone. They're going to try to run and flee, but they were ready for that. And of course, the mayor of Pleasant Hill and all the other guys are basically ready to fight. And basically, the criminals get rounded up. But during all this fighting, the other incident that happened that I talked about was Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson have a conversation, and they have a conversation of who's going to be Captain America. And Steve Rogers' opinion of, what, there should be 2 Captain Americas. There's too much for just one. And Sam Wilson believes, because Captain America gave his, Avengers Assemble speech during this comic book, motivation that the world needs him. So, and the comment they make is, well, there's 2 Spider-Mans, so there should be 2 Captain Americas. So there's now 2 Captain Americas. There's even a really small reference in this book about Civil War II coming up. Basically Steve Rogers said, we should all hold on to this before the war started. So obviously that's a hint at Civil War II, which is not that far down the road coming. And this is kind of like a setup to that, obviously. And the interesting part is the end. We get near the end of this book. This is where all the real interesting stuff happens. So at the end of this book, we see a couple things happen. The first thing is Maria Hill is in front of obviously the council she answers to, and she's telling them all this stuff. It's a big long thing. But ultimately, they're not happy with what she did. She put the world at risk and all this other stuff. And so basically, they're investigating her, and she doesn't have her full power now. And she's like, "Don't you understand? My map is blowing up all over the place. You need me right now." But they're not having any of it. The other cool thing that happens is interesting thing, which I know what this leads to, is we see Bucky, aka Winter Soldier, outside the town, standing there, and the Cube Girl shows up. Cosmic Cube Girl shows up, apologizing for throwing him and crying, and he's really not that upset about it, but she's like, and he's like, "Well, let me take you to people help you." She goes, "No, I don't want to go there. They're just going to use me again. Can I stay with you for a little bit?" And he's like, "Okay, you can stay with me a little bit till I guess find somewhere better for her to go." So she can be Winter Soldier, and she goes, "Oh, we can't," and also my friends, and they show some people, and the reason why this is so important is because at the very end of this book, which you'll see real quick, they show 4 different covers but 3 books. One obviously Sam Wilson. The other one is obviously Steve Rogers' Captain America 1, which Steve Rogers has a newer looking Captain America uniform, a newer Captain America shield. The other one is Thunderbolt 1, which has the people she showed as her friends and Bucky and Winter Soldier in it. So we're going to get a new Thunderbolts. Interesting. I don't know if the Cube Girl will be involved. I'm assuming she'll somehow be maybe involved with them somehow. And the third thing is Quasar. Now, I don't know this trend with cosmic characters, Captain Marvel stuff, but they seem to want to make them female. So this one's female. I like to give characters a chance. We'll see how it goes. It's kind of cool that the original Quasar, Wendell Vaughn, is going to be her mentor, which to me is kind of cool. He's going to be mentoring her, and you see him trying to teach her, visualize something with quantum bands in her mind. She has trouble, and he's like, "You'll get it with proper training." So he's going to be training her. So it's kind of cool that the old Quasar is training the new one. And we'll see where that goes ultimately. And everybody's going to ask about, obviously, Eon and the guy to him in the cosmic world. How's that going to play and everything else? Clearly, I guess we're going to get a Quasar book down the road, I would imagine. Maybe not. Who knows? But the most interesting thing is the very end of the book. So Marvel wants to rebuild, obviously, Hydra. They're still a very major bad entity. They're on, obviously, S.h.i.e.L.D. on TV and stuff. They're good to have them around when something bad happens on Earth or whatever. So we see Sin talking to somebody. He's like, the people you called for, there's 50 people here. They're here. And he talks about, you know, how the problem with the Baron was he would hire any riffraff, anybody who had powers because he wanted to conquer the world. He wants people just loyal. He wants to rebuild, make Hydra totally different. And he's not going to use any kind of psychotic, anything to mess with their mind. They're going to want to do it and love to do it and do it for the cause. And you find out this person is the Red Skull, and he's talking to him at the very end, and they're all right in the air. So, and he says "Hail Hydra" at the end. So a lot of things happen at the very end of this book. Overall, this standoff was interesting. Again, the standoff had all the different Avenger teams. I'm still one of us get used to Marvel's thing about putting mutants in these other teams instead of just being X-Men or X-Force. So, of course, you know, we had the Cable Avenger team with Deadpool and all them and Rogue and, of course, all the different teams. So, where do they go from this forward with the Avengers? Like, was this a way to reboot the Avenger teams? Is this a way to, like, what is the fallout for the Avengers when this is over? Where are they going with the Avengers? That's what I'm wondering. Like, there's got to be some kind of fallout, or is it going to be after Civil War II, or reshuffling or changing teams? But ultimately, you know, this is an interesting series because something like this really hasn't been done to this scale in the Marvel Universe. This was not some big cosmic battle. This is not, you know, this was world changing if someone got obviously a hold of Cosmic Cube, but it was just some villains and some superheroes fighting over something, and ultimately, you know, there were fallouts because of it. But overall, this is a good book. Again, you can read this book necessarily, not read the other Standoff, but you wonder the whole scope of what happened. Like, you were like, how did Steve Rogers become young again? You know, and all this other stuff. So it's good to read the Standoff to see how everything happened. But ultimately, I like Quasar, so I think some people might find Quasar kind of a letdown because everything they think a big super, they're thinking a major pillar of the Marvel Universe. I don't know how many people consider Quasar that, but I like Quasar. Again, I read the book when it, you know, I had every issue of the original series when it came out. How Steve Rogers being young, I don't know how people, I mean, now we got 2 Captain Americas, you know, how people feel about that. So it's just how this all goes forward, really. Ultimately, this was a good book. Overall, the series was pretty good and interesting. It was not like one of the things I hate the most about when they do some big kind of series is they make it out to be this, and then it ends up being totally something different, and it kind of be a letdown. It's kind of like when Marvel does verse books these days, right? Hulk versus Thanos. Most of the book is not Hulk versus Thanos. Most of the book is other stuff around that they just had to be involved in. So it was nice to see this actually be about what's actually happening. Anyway, love to hear you guys' opinions. How did you guys like the whole Avengers Standoff? How did you like this issue? How do you feel about Quasar? How do you feel about Red Skull being in charge of Hydra again? A lot of stuff to talk about. Murray Hill no longer being basically punished and may not be the head of S.h.i.e.l.d. anymore. Love to hear you guys' opinions like always. I'll make another video soon. Later, guys.